the recording?
Good evening.
Or have we started the recording?
Yeah, it says so.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone for attending this virtual meeting of the
39 driver
Committee
is
on
not
Thursday, the 18th of March. You all know me, Councillor John Walker. I am the chair, and Councillor Roy Lees is the vice chair. Please note this is a Teams meeting. It has been recorded, and the video stream will also be uploaded to YouTube after the meeting. For each item, I will invite members to use the raised hand function on your iPad to make any comments, and to ensure each member has the opportunity to speak and that they are not speaking over each other. When speaking, please reference the paragraph number to enable everyone to follow you. Please mute your microphone and video feed when you are not speaking. If the technology fails, then I will adjourn the meeting for a few minutes to try and resolve the issue, or if it's not possible, a new date and time will be organised. Therefore, please can I ask all members to confirm they can hear and speak before the meeting begins. I will call out each member's name. Councillor Roy Lees.
Here, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Peter Gabbett.
Here, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Yvonne Hargreaves.
Hi, Chair, it's Ruth. Councillor Hargreaves did mention she might be a little bit late.
Right, okay, thank you. Councillor Hasina Khan.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Marion Lowe.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor June Molyneux.
Good evening, Chair.
Good evening. Councillor Steve Murfitt.
We've not been able to connect him, Chair.
No, right. Councillor Deborah Platt.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Councillor Gillian Sharples.
Hello, Chair.
Good evening. Councillor Paul Sloan.
Good evening, Chair.
Good evening. And Councillor Kim Snape.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. All present. Apologies. We have apologies from Councillor Hilton and Councillor Lynch. Any other further apologies? We're a full complement. And can I welcome officers here this evening? I can see some here, and we'll get introduced as the evening goes on. Okay, thank you. Right, we'll go on to the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, the 28th of January. Are there any issues? Is this a true record of the minutes of that meeting? If you can catch your mind
Happy
back
to move those, Chair.
Thank you. Have we a seconder? No. Have we got a second?
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you. Can I, any comments about the minutes of the meeting on the 20th of January? If there aren't, can I ask for a proposal for the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of March for the Overview and Scrutiny Performance Panel? Who were there?
I'll move those, Chair.
Thank you.
And I'll second those, Chair.
Yeah, because Alex
thank you
isn't
very
here.
You were the only two there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to item 3. Declarations of any interest. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any pecuniary interest in respect of matters contained in this agenda. No, it's okay. Can we move on to item 4, which is public questions? Have we got anybody from the public? It would appear not. So we'll move on now to the scrutiny of the Executive Cabinet. The Cabinet minutes of Thursday, the 21st of January, Thursday, the 25th of February. Can we consider those and note, or any propose those two executive meetings? Anybody?
I note those, Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any comments to make about the two executive meetings? If you're there, I think they all went fairly smoothly and quickly. If not, we'll move on to item 6, is the notice of executive decisions. To view the latest motion, click on the link there. It's correct up to the 10th of March. I always say that, you know, there are a lot of decisions being made outside the cabinet, certainly by cabinet members, but outside the cabinet. And if you've got any comments to raise about them or want any you know, instructions about them, please let me know or Matthew know. I'm certain we can get those decisions looked at for you. Okay. Any comments? If not, we'll move on to item 7. You can find where on my agenda sheet. Item 7 is the health scrutiny. And I think Matthew has got a statement to make about the health scrutiny, haven't you, Matthew?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm just providing a brief statement from Councillor France. There's been no significant update as the next Lancashire County Council's health scrutiny meeting is not scheduled until the 23rd of March. But since the last Overview and Scrutiny Committee was announced in February that the Our Health, Our Care programme that included the proposal to close Chorley A&E department had been dropped. Chorley A&E department is currently open 12 hours a day between 8 and 8 for adults. Children can attend the Chorley Urgent Care Centre, which is GP-led and open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The new health infrastructure Plan 2 is currently in development, but like the Our Health, Our Care, it will be a long process, and it will likely be by the end of the decade that it progressed into brick and mortar.
Thank you, Matthew. That's the update. It's interesting to note this. It says A&E in Chorley is open from 8 till 8. Well, 2 weeks ago, some of you know, I went to A&E around about 6:30 when the performance panel was in, and I couldn't be dealt with there because there were no doctors available. They said that all the doctors seem to go home or finish at 5 o'clock, unless there's anything, you know, just like a cut or something, then which a nurse could deal with. But anything really medical, you'd have to go to Preston, which I then duly had to do, and so I was dealt with at Preston. But it's interesting. I thought you could be dealt with between 8 and 8, particularly if it's 8 in the morning till 5 in the evening, if you've got a real medical problem. Anyway, that's the comment I have to make about it. Hopefully, in the near future, we will get the full A&E open, whenever that might be. Presumably it will be when the pandemic is basically over and things are getting back to normal, really. But we just hope so in the future. Okay, so if we can move on to...
Can I just come?
Yes, sorry, of course you can. Yes, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. I think one of the issues is if you're over a certain age, they won't treat you at Chorley. They automatically take you to Preston.
All right, right.
And if you have certain medical conditions, they do. So it's, as you say, it's not truly 8 to 8. But there you go.
No. Yeah, true. It's one of those. I won't say it's $64,000 question whether you get dealt with or not, really. But I'll say it was disappointing when they couldn't deal with that. Anyway, there we are. I'm okay again now, so the panic was over.
Good.
Okie dokie. So if we move on to item 8, which is the clean air strategy, I understand Laura Jean Taylor is going to present this report. Is that correct, Laura?
It is, Chair, thank you. Yes, I'm standing in for Jennifer Mullin, who unfortunately is double booked this evening.
Right, okay.
So I will do the best I can.
Yeah, okay. Fire away.
So, okay, so the clean air strategy, the purpose of the report is to seek approval to consult upon the proposed draft clean air strategy, including our options appraisal for new air quality monitoring methods. The recommendation is to agree the report to form part of our formal public consultation and for delegated responsibility to be given to the executive member to approve the final strategy, given there are no significant changes following public consultation. Sorry, I'll just get to where I was up to. So I'm on paragraph 5 here, the summary of the report. The council declared a climate emergency in November 2019. with a key objective of achieving carbon neutral by 2030. In order to achieve this, we need to review all our options to reduce carbon footprint and lead by example. By implementing and consulting on a clean air strategy will assist us greatly in working towards this goal. Our current air quality monitoring methods and results are produced as part of our air quality annual status report, and our results are demonstrated that we currently do not exceed any national targets of key pollutants such as nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter 2.5. Although these national figures are predicted to change along with the minimum monitoring requirements. Therefore, the Clean Air Strategy will inform our current practices, our legal obligations, and hope to raise awareness and identify key areas for interventions. I'm just going to, sorry, I've lost where I am. Okay, the strategy is split into four broad key areas of proposed actions. One being the council internal actions, two being the revision of our policies, guidance and documents, three being the communication, education and engagement around air quality, and four being research projects. The implications of the report are that if we were not to adopt a clean air strategy, this could impact our goal of carbon neutral by 2030. So if I go on to the draft strategy on page 73, the summary highlights what we want to achieve, what we are already doing, how we hope that this would form part of our wider green agenda. We set out our vision as part of the strategy, and we highlight our key aims and objectives. So the key aim is to strive to maintain compliance within the national air quality standards, to reduce the average concentrations of nitrogen dioxide, particulate matter across the borough, to reduce estimated proportion of disease and deaths attributed to air pollution. The key objectives is to engage residents and businesses in the improvement of the air quality initiatives, enable a shift to zero and low emission transport to reduce emissions by providing the necessary infrastructure, to reduce and minimise, prevent emissions from industrial, commercial, agricultural and domestic sources and activities, ensure all council decisions have regard to the impact of air quality. So I won't read the whole report, but I'll just highlight each section. So the introduction again just highlights what it is we want to achieve, what we are currently doing, what our commitment is financially, what the key pollutants are, the key sources of these pollutants. It highlights what our statutory requirements are, what the national limits are for air quality. It highlights national policy and government guidance, which we refer to and adhere to. Section 4 of the strategy highlights the local area, being our population, our coverage, our key transport links. What our current air quality monitoring methods are, what the results of those monitoring methods are, how we communicate those methods. The section 5 highlights some of the key things that we already do in order to improve our air quality. So that includes our air quality monitoring, our reports, the efforts of the planning department, including air quality assessments for planning applications, our green vehicles, our reduction of use of staff transport, our commitment to the central Lancashire local plan, and working with Public Health Lancashire. Section 6 highlights our proposed actions going forward, which are summarised in Appendix 2. So I'll just go through the proposed actions which we hope to do some public consultation on. One being to develop an engagement strategy to support the air quality agenda across the borough. So with that, we'll develop a communications and engagement plan to raise awareness of air quality across the borough to help us achieve our desired actions. Number 2, where we'll ensure that all new development contributes to delivering the clear air strategy. With that, we will publish the Lancashire Air Quality Low Emission Developer Guidance, and we'll ensure this is embedded as part of our guidance and review of the local plan. We will work with County and review and update on the Lancashire Local Transport Plan and Central Plan, Central Local Plan Team on measures to be introduced locally on transport options. So with that, we will liaise with policymakers and development of transport and policy at both county and local plan level to ensure policy support the move to sustainable and active travel and move away from the reliance of road transport. We're going to review the air quality monitoring programme across the borough. So we're going to revise and increase the level of air quality monitoring for nitrogen dioxides, and also investigate the potential use for continuous analyzer, which we're looking at real-time monitoring for other pollutants, including particulate matter 2.5. All council decisions to include an assessment of air quality impacts, for the council to report templates to require an assessment of the impact of any proposals on air quality in the borough, to promote flexible and home working to reduce staff commuting and avoidable travel. So to do that, we will we'll review our home working policy. To promote active travel for staff, so we'd look at staff policy to encourage active travel and work to support this through the provision of secure bike storage and changing shower facilities. We'd promote active travel to develop, so to do that we would need to develop and promote strategies again to move away from the reliance of car and road as the primary mode of transport. We hope to increase the provision of electrical vehicle charging points across the borough. We hope to review the taxi policy to look at any changes and any incentives for the uptake of low and zero emission vehicles. We hope to improve access to electrical vehicle charging points. To do that, we will have to review our car parks across the borough and the access to these electrical vehicle charging points, and look at some external funding to help introduce and implement additional installation of electrical vehicle charging points. And that is me finished there, Chair. Thank you. Oh, Chair, you're on mute.
You're muted, John.
I wasn't before. Very thorough air strategy. This has been to Cabinet, hasn't it? Which has been approved at Cabinet.
Yes, so what we're hoping to do now is we're going to go to public consultation on the proposed actions.
Right, and so presumably when you get the results of the consultation, you'll then bring your findings back to Cabinet, or will it go to Council?
We're asking for delegated decision for the exec member to make that decision to finalise the strategy once. Hopefully there won't be any significant changes.
No. Well, one hopes not. It covers a great deal. Well, have we got any questions? I've just got one or two. I was pleased to see about the clean air strategy is going to be incorporated into the local plan and planning applications. How does it work with developers? Will they be keen to make sure all their properties are got smokeless zones area and not wood burners and things like that? Really, will that be part of the planning regulations as well?
I'm going to say yes, but I don't honestly know. But I know what we are. That there is some change in legislation when it comes to the use of solid fuels. So we are, what isn't in this report is we are looking at doing a campaign around solid fuel and log burners as well. In addition to this, so that may be something of interest.
Good, excellent, excellent. I think Councillor Lees, Roy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, regarding page 88, paragraph 5.7, regarding the taxes, it says there that we want them to change the vehicles by 2021, which we're now at. Can you tell me where we're up to? Where are the taxes up to with that? And secondly, does this go to private hire as well as the taxis?
I can't, I'm afraid. It mainly would sit with the licensing officer, but I will ask for an update and ask for that to be shared. But I would presume it would include the private hire. Yes, it would still. We'd be looking at the incentives for them. Really, is what we want to be doing. We need to make it. It needs to be a viable option for them. So I think we would be looking incentives for the private hire as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Yes. Chris Moister, have you want to ask a question?
Thank you, Chair. I suppose it's not really a question. It's just that this is obviously, as you pointed out, it's a policy that's been through Cabinet, has been approved for consultation, and this is the opportunity for scrutiny to review this as a Cabinet document, I suppose, to make sure you're satisfied that it meets the needs of the organisation. And it's that part of it that really you've got the opportunity to feed into now. Obviously, as you'll be part of the consultation exercise anyway, so yes. You can obviously respond to it in that way. But I suppose it's the opportunity of the Scrutiny Committee, Overview and Scrutiny Committee, just to say, yes, we're content that actually this is meeting the policy needs of the council in this form. Yep,
thanks, Chris. What I was going to suggest that after the consultation, which will take us to the 6 weeks consultation, will take us really up to take us up to the end of April, or shall we say into the new municipal year. It might well be to have a look at this further in the early days of the scrutiny committee next year, shall we say. I think the first one's in July. It might well be to have that on the agenda, just look at if there's been any changes or any recommendation to change the policy after the consultation. Is that okay, Chris?
That would seem sensible, Chair. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Are all the committee in favour of that for it bringing back to the scrutiny committee once the consultation's finalised?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for the presentation. If you want to remain, you're quite happy to do, but if you want to depart, you can depart.
I think I have another item yet, Chair, I think.
All right, very good. Well, you're welcome to stop. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda then is the item 9, which is the Overview and Scrutiny Task Group developing the Council's Green Agenda monitoring recommendations. And that, I think, is Zoe. You're going to present that.
It is. Thank you, Chair. Good evening. Hopefully you can hear me. Okay, welcome and thank you for inviting me tonight. So in terms of the Green Agenda, this is monitoring report number 1 following the task group developing the Council's Green Agenda. The final report was presented to Cabinet in March 2020 and it was agreed that the action plan would be expedited as a corporate priority, and funding was allocated to the project, and the transfer of this project was to my department, Spatial Planning, in September. And following that, we put a plan together which pulled together all of the activity, and crucially, the recruitment of the dedicated officer was undertaken. And Sally Green, who is on the call tonight, she will be presenting this item in future monitoring reports to this committee, and it has a key role in the climate change working group also. So Sally is on the call tonight if members want to ask her any questions. It would have been unfair for me to delegate this to her this evening because she actually only started on the 8th of March. So she's very fresh, but very, very enthusiastic, which is fantastic. So and I can come on to that in a second in terms of her kind of the direction of her work, as it were. So the general update is obviously the inaugural meeting of this climate change working group met on the 22nd of February, and that will be that's a member-led group which will be crucial in monitoring the activity around the green agenda and climate change, and crucially ensuring that they hit that target of net zero carbon emissions by 2030, and all of the other targets and ambitions and objectives that we will need to meet as a council. We are waiting for the Environment Bill to be enacted, hopefully the end of this year, early next year, and that will bring along with it no doubt raft of additional responsibilities for us on a council. So this is a really important agenda, but that working group will be crucial in monitoring the activity. So we've had our first meeting, and I wonder whether in future these reports will have appended to them the minutes of that working group. I don't think the minutes have been published yet, Chair, for that meeting that took place, but it may be worthwhile for this, as part of this monitoring exercise, to see the minutes of that group, because it is quite a broad agenda, and the reports that are presented to the working group going forward will give more of a depth in terms of some of the actions and the activity that Sally and the work will be done. So the table below, I'm on paragraph 7 now, Chair. The table below lists the 24 recommendations by the task group, and I want to make the point that those have been extracted from the overall programme for climate change, so that for this monitoring exercise, but it's not the only work that Sally and the task group or the officers group for climate change will be working on. I've just pulled those out just so that you can see in terms of the commitments and the recommendations that the task group made in terms of this agenda, where those specific actions are up to. But it's not just everything that we're doing on climate change and the green agenda. It is a bit more broader than that. And I would imagine that in order to see how broad that programme is, to have a look at those minutes for the working group, because that is the overall programme, if you like. So I've listed before the 24 recommendations there, and the progress to date is in the update column, and it is worth noting that a number of them are going to be led by the climate change programme officer. So you may see that a number of them will say, and there's a handful that are saying completed or underway, but there is quite a number of them that say obviously to commence when the officer is in post, and so it may be a case of just going through those and thinking, well, actually those will be now commenced, as it were. So I would imagine that this report and this kind of update will be much more meaty at the next meeting in September, once Sally's really got a feet under the table and sort of that action has kind of started kicking in, really. So I wasn't proposing to go through all of those individual items. I'm happy to take questions on any specific ones, but I would say that this next monitoring report in September will be far more detailed, and if members feel they want to, what we could maybe do, as well as this the table and the minutes of the working group, perhaps Sally could do a PowerPoint presentation which gives a little bit more depth on some of those particular actions, because some of them are quite exciting, that we're starting to look at, and rather than it just being a bit of a short narrative, if there's particular things that members want to hear more about, then it may be worth sort of Sally, presenting something a bit more kind of an interest, really, than just a short narrative in a table or an action plan. So that's kind of the update, really. Obviously, we've got the 500,000 allocated to the project. The working group will be leading in terms of allocating those funds to specific projects, and Sally has already started to pull together some proposals for how that money may be spent going forward. I think Lindsay Blackstock is spending a good chunk of it on trees. We're looking at spending some of it on air quality measuring, I think, as Laura has alluded to, but there'll be other things as well that we want to do. So that was my update, but more than happy, Chair, to take questions, and obviously Sally is available too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from anybody? You probably ought to take in. We've had the air quality report, and now the green are those two working together? For example, with the local plan that's due out in the next 18 months or so, is all that going to be incorporated into actions from on the local plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why climate change came into spatial planning, because they are closely aligned and linked. And we are talking with Laura and Jennifer and Stuart around the air quality, because obviously if we want to bring in policies which talk about what are expected in terms of planning permissions and applications for planning for development, and the assessments that will need to be submitted as part of those applications, and our baseline, or how we measure, what is in terms of an acceptable level of air quality, and what would need to be mitigated if that's not the case, then certainly we'll need to be aligned in terms of how we measure air quality and what actually we're measuring. So obviously particulate matter, for example, is something that we're very keen to start collecting data on, so that we have a good understanding of the levels in the borough in particular locations. So absolutely crucial that those three areas of work talk to each other, and we are doing that, absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I've got a raised hand somewhere. Councillor Snape.
Yeah, sorry. I'd just be interested in an update on maybe like a future meeting, as you say, when future monitoring reports come forward, about the tree planting strategy, because I know I was sending a few emails back and forth with Lindsay about lack of progress with United Utilities in terms of tree planting around Rivington as part of my ward, and also I'm kind of getting mixed messages back from the county council about whether or not they're engaging in sort of tree planting around Healy now, because I think they've told Lindsay that they are, but then they're telling residents that they aren't. So it would just be interesting to see the picture across Chorley, really. Thanks.
No problem at all. I mean, we can certainly bring that to the next meeting and in more detail in terms of the monitoring tree report. I mean, I've been involved with Lindsay in meetings with UU, and I would like to say that is looking very promising. So rest assured that we are on with some good plans, I think, with UU. It's difficult because we don't want to share something and raise expectations until it actually comes to fruition. But I am confident that will lead to some good numbers of tree planting and possibly a Chorley forest, but obviously it's at early stages yet. In terms of county, I don't profess to know where that's up to, so certainly we can look at that and certainly bring a report back in terms of the tree planting and where that's up to in terms of that target of 116,000 trees. So yeah, definitely, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ruth, have you a comment to make or a question?
Oh yeah, thank you. I just wondered whether it might be worth in the new municipal year, Sally, doing a member learning session, because I think it would be, members would be wider than Overview and Scrutiny would be interested in the work that she's doing. So sorry, Sally. Nominated you for a member learning session, but I think members would be really interested in the work you're doing.
I've just written down PowerPoint presentation to member learning. So yes, I'm certain I'll be very good at it, especially this next year where I'm not saying with a different council with less councillors, but we might have a lot of new faces. We don't know yet, but it might well be early on in the year to have a PowerPoint on or a presentation about air pollution and the green agenda, to get new members enthusiastic about what the council has done and going to do, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were planning to do one on air quality later on in the year. The idea was on that, once we'd got these new measures in place and we were starting to collect more data on PM2.5, we could start to report back. So certainly we can do a member learning on air quality, and then I would propose that there be a second one on the green agenda and climate change, specifically because it's so broad, that programme. It covers so many different things. And yes, so definitely, I think we can do that, no problem. Is that okay, Sally? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm happy to do that, definitely.
Yeah, very good. Welcome, Sally.
Thank you, everyone.
Settling in.
Yeah, it's been a busy week, but it's been exciting.
Yeah, I bet it has. Yes. Well done. Thanks for joining us tonight anyway. Laura, I think you got to ask a question.
I've just put it back down again. I think Zoe answered it for me.
Right.
It was in the covering report to the Clean Air Strategy about a member learning session around air quality monitoring as well that I failed to mention. So Zoe's covered that one there.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Any further questions? So thanks for that update, and we look forward to further updates and the presentation at our next scrutiny meeting in July.
Thank you.
Thank you. Zoe, if you want to remain, you can do. If not, thank you very much for attending tonight.
I'll stay for the transport. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, can we move on to item 10, which is the Overview and Task Group Quality of Housing Provided by Social Landlords Monitoring Report. And we've got a verbal update from Laura again.
Hello,
Okay,
Chair.
Laura?
Yes, I have. Thank you. I have a written update for me to provide verbally from Jennifer, which says that both Jennifer Mullin and Angela Barago have met with both Jigsaw and Places for People, being our main social landlord providers in Chorley, regarding the introduction of a housing standards charter. Both organisations are open and receptive to working with the council to develop a charter, but they are conscious that the standards and the reforms proposed within the social housing white paper published last year will require them to adopt many of these principles that have already been suggested by Chorley Council to be included within this charter. They have asked if we could allow them some further time to understand and plan how they're going to incorporate these proposed white paper changes, and then mutually agree any outstanding areas that would need to be accommodated through an agreement of some local arrangements. So it has been agreed to provide them this time and revisit the conversation with these registered providers later in the year to establish progress and moving forward with the development of the charter.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's good. I'm quite happy with that to happen. So presumably we can bring the a report back later in next year on the findings from the white paper, presumably.
Yeah, on the progress. Yeah, I can presume that.
We'll put in the work programme for next year anyway. So so thanks for that.
Thank you, Chair.
Any questions about it, about the report? Okay, thanks, Laura, again. And if you want to remain, you can do. If not, thank you very much for attending tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good night.
Thank you. Okay. We've gone to item 11, which is the report from the Task and Finish Group on public transport to receive and consider the final report, which I think is then going to Cabinet next week, I think. So, Kim, fire away your fantastic transport review. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll keep it brief, but in a nutshell, I think we've sort of covered an incredible amount of ground, to be honest, in the last 6 months. We've interviewed quite a wide-ranging list of stakeholders that are noted in the report to get their insights into some of the issues that they're facing. We've also engaged with the parish councils, and some of those responses are in the report. I think on reflection, we'd probably like to have had a bit more input from the general public and some of the community groups that have an interest in public transport. But, you know, we've done our best in terms of, you know, the pandemic that we're in the middle of, and we've tried to get what we could through social media, and those responses are documented in the report. We would also like to have delved a bit more into cycling, if I'm honest. I think we've sort of put that as a recommendation in the report to perhaps consider it for next year as a topic, as we didn't get time to give it the attention that it deserved. But all in all, some of these issues, I guess, really aren't. We kind of came to the conclusion that they're not really within our control, nor do we have sort of enforcement powers over them. But we felt that we still need to push for those changes and for those improvements for our residents. We've come up with a number of recommendations that cover different aspects of it, and hopefully we can try and move forward for sort of definitely more sort of joint working and communication and consultation with us as a council, and also for more sort of closer working with the county councillors, the transport authority, both with the MP and with the various transport providers in the borough. to try and improve things for our residents. We also want to see the council continuing the work that's been started and briefly discussed tonight around the green agenda, because some of that dovetails within the sort of remit of this task group. But other than that, yeah, I think and thank you to Alison and Matthew for all the work that they've done on it as well, and everybody that's been a part of it, because I think we've learned a lot, and hopefully we can see some good improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Kim. Yeah, I was very impressed on reading the report. Very impressed. Just one or two questions, really. Well, I've got. When you interviewed Stagecoach, was there any talk about reducing fares on the buses? Because I always get the impression that people don't go on the bus because they're more expensive sometimes than taxis.
Yeah, I think, well, that was discussed, and the fact that they don't promote very well the offers that they do have, even for the offers that they have for things like the youth zone and some of the day savers. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm not preempting what Stagecoach do, but I don't think they'll be reducing tickets, because to be honest, they were kind of bleeding poverty with the pandemic and now they're struggling and things. But yeah, I think we've just got to keep pushing it, really, because obviously we do need cheaper transport, and things like a combined transport authority and things like that would help that, I think, in the future. But we've just got to keep. They are open to closer working with us as a council and better communication, and they want to come to a member learning session so we can keep pushing these issues with them as well.
Yeah, well, that will be good, because I'm certain a lot of councillors will like to have a go at Stagecoach about various things. The other question I was going to ask, Dial-A-Ride, I noticed you mentioned them 2 or 3 times in the report, that they are willing to work more with areas in Chorley, because I think you've invited them to a liaison meeting, haven't you, where the parish councils are represented?
Yeah. I mean, they've already been. I know they came to Adlington Town Council on Monday evening, and they're looking at what they can do to work close with them. But we just sort of felt that there's kind of a perception that Dial-A-Ride is just for elderly people, and it's not, which was something that we learnt. But B, that they could, rather than just sort of chucking money at them, that we could work with them to develop them, really, both in terms of helping them get more volunteers for the community car scheme that they have, and raising awareness as well, you know, in all the different villages and things, and looking at improving the social media presence. And I know Dial-A-Ride weren't keen on leaflets, so they said they've leafleted places before and that doesn't work, but they are doing some innovative things, like they're working quite closely with Eccleston Parish Council, I understand, and they've been funded, I think £2,500 from Eccleston Parish Council for a community car scheme. But yeah, it's I mean, we were quite surprised that they don't have closer working with the NHS in terms of vaccine appointments and taking people to doctor's appointments and things, really. So hopefully this time next year they'll be overwhelmed with work.
well, I hope so. They're doing good, really. Yes. Yeah, I mean, presumably you've got parish councils involved. Are some parish councils keen to get public transport, or shall we say residents using public transport more frequently? Are they involved, or have we let them do what they want, really, the parish councils?
Yeah, I mean, we had quite an interesting discussion at the Chorley liaison meeting about it when we sort of sought feedback. I mean, I know Adlington Town Council, I think June's got a hand up, she'll probably tell you about what they've been doing on it. But yeah, there are a lot of issues in the villages and things, really, so we've not to forget, you know, we've got a lot of social isolation, and we've got to keep our bus services and keep it on the agenda, haven't we, in terms of in Chorley, and improve our rail services as well, because, you know, that's a bit of a theme in the report, because a lot of our rail services have been run down, and it'll be hard to get them back up to what they were after the pandemic, and get people back on public transport as well. That'll be the next challenge. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll bring you in a second, but I mean, I must admit, reading it, you're all very enthusiastic about what you're trying to do. I just hope the residents of Chorley will take it on board and try and use public transport a lot more. June.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's making public transport attractive for people
Yeah,
to use. But going back to with Dial-A-Ride, I mean, there are whole sections. They say Adlington's well served with buses, which we are if you live on Chorley Road and close by. They're every 10 minutes. But the majority of the village aren't. And it's those people that could use the community car scheme that we thought would be useful for beneficial in the village to get them to the doctor's surgery, to take them to shopping, because if you live up Park Road, you've no shops nearby, and they will take you to the shops, you see, the community car. So that's what we were exploring at Adlington, and I'm sure they'd be useful to other parishes as well.
Yes. I mean, that sounds a good scheme, but do people know there is a community, or there can be a community car scheme in any area?
Well, I don't know, but that's the whole point of publicising it all, isn't it? And getting it out there.
Yeah. Well, it's something that the cabinet have to think about. But I say you're very enthusiastic. What I hate it to happen is go on one side and people lose and councillors lose interest in it, really. But no, I think you've done a fantastic job, and well done for that. Anybody got any further questions? Okay. Well, thanks for that, Kim. I say it's going to cabinet next week, and hopefully they will accept your recommendations. Will they accept all recommendations? We'll have to wait and see. But we'll just wait and see what they say next Thursday.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes. Right. Where are we up to now? 11, 12 is the Overview and Scrutiny work programme. Well, we are at the end of this municipal year. Everybody's had virtual meetings. I think we've achieved a great deal, and I think we've already recommended 2 or 3 items to go on the scrutiny meetings for next year. And there's one I had conversations with Bev Murray about the neighbourhoods, which of course have been in abeyance this year because of the pandemic. We have come up with a scheme that is going to go to the first cabinet meeting in the next municipal year, which I think must be in June. From the recommendations from the cabinet, then that will go to council for I think the July council meeting, and then we hope to start the neighbourhoods with the new format. Of course, we've only got 14 areas now. With the new format from July, it'll be a reduced year and reduced amount of money, but with 3 councillors for each ward, whatever they get will be quite a fair amount of money. So that's a scheme. I'm not going to go into detail what it is. You'll see it when it all comes to the cabinet in June. But I hope people accept the new recommendations. The neighbourhoods, as far as I've been concerned, have been a great asset to the council, and also to councillors who can then get a small amount of money to do some small jobs in their area without a lot of problems going to executive cabinet members to get money available for schemes. So I think it's been very useful and well worked over the years. So we just hope the new format of 14 wards will be successful. And I say that will hopefully start in the new municipal year. Got any comments to make about neighbourhoods? No. Well, I just hope whoever's on scrutiny next year will accept the recommendations, and we can get cracking again and start doing some small jobs for the residents of Chorley over the next years. Okay. Any further questions about the work programme? And of course, if you do want to do any investigations or scrutiny of anything the council's doing, please contact Matthew or Ruth, and we'll get it on the programme for next year. But I think in the early, because it'll be a new council altogether with reduced councillors, it's better to just wait and see what we can come up with at the first meeting in July. Okay, Ruth. Yes.
Hiya. I was just going to say exactly pretty much what you've just said, actually. So just that normally at this meeting we would have a discussion about what task groups we want to start for next year, but I was going to say it's a bit different this year, isn't it, with the all-out elections. So I'm quite comfortable if you'd rather wait and decide what you want to do for your task group in the new municipal year, then I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, very good, excellent. Okay, any further comments? Okay, well, can I thank you all for your patience this year of having to have all virtual meetings. Thank you for the help you've given, the work you've done on the task groups, and we'll look forward to seeing you all next year. Hopefully, I'll say hopefully, and fingers crossed, with the elections in the next 8 weeks. Some of us might be here, some of us might not, but we'll just have to wait and see what the electorate says on the coming months or next few weeks, really. And also, can I thank Matthew? Of course, I haven't met Matthew face to face. I've seen him face to face virtually, but I haven't been in his company. And look forward to being in his company and sorting out scrutiny next year. And thank you to Ruth and Nina, who have been working alongside Matthew for their work they put in during this last year. So thank you to all the officers. Any further comments? If not, I'll thank you very much. Have a good election and look forward to seeing you hopefully next year.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye.